Mustafa, Mustafa, Ibrahim. Mustafa, 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 Ibrahim. Mustafa, Ibrahim, Mustafa, Ibrahim. Allah, Allah, Allah will pray for you. Mustafa, Ibrahim, Al-Hadra Kristanin. Allah, Allah, Allah will pray for you. Mustafa. Hey, Mustafa. Mustafa Ibrahim, Mustafa Ibrahim, Allah, 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 Ibrahim, 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 Allah, 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 hey. Mustafa, Mustafa, Allah in the stole, Mustafa, Mustafa, Akbar is in the show, Mustafa, Mustafa. Mustafa, salam alaikum. Mustafa Ibrahim, Mustafa Ibrahim, Allah, Allah, Allah will pray for you. Mustafa Ibrahim, Akbar Ishnavin, Allah, Allah, Allah will pray for you. Mustafa, Mustafa. Mustafa Ibrahim, Mustafa Ibrahim, hey, Allah, 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 Ibrahim, 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 Allah, 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 hey. Mustafa, 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 Mustafa. Hilda bin Mustafa, alaikum salam, hey!
Okay, hello everybody. How are we all doing today? It's Larsen live. We got some discussion going on in the chat already. Okay, so we opened up with some quotes from someone named the John Wayne fan, who is not showing up in the stream itself, but he is showing up in my little Streamlab dealie, my dashboard. He said, I suppose we can expect something on Artemis 2, the space mission. Also says he looks forward to when you develop the Pulp Fiction stories you mentioned. Thumbs up. Yes, I actually have started developing that. If you want to talk about my writing a bit. Yes, so, about that. I've mentioned every so often that I've been trying to get some friends to play Dungeons & Dragons. I've already decided I'm going to be a monk. But we haven't been able to get around that, to doing so. So instead, I have started developing a series of Robert Howard-esque, fantasy novellas about the character I came up with. Maybe some, setting notes and things like that. I have started tentatively writing some rough drafts on the issue. And by writing, I mean I ramble on as I drive home from work, and then I transfer it to a WordPad document. I'm sorry, Microsoft Word. Not WordPad, not Wattpad either. We're not writing smut here. Okay. Yeah, so thank you, the John Wayne fan. Okay, I'm a fan of his better works myself. mainly his John Ford-related works. Also did some good stuff with Howard Hawks. I mean, yeah, his later career was just absolute horseshit. But, nobody can have a perfect run forever. Yeah, on Compound Media, Anthony Cumia and David Landau, they did like a 30-minute bit where they just ripped on like Brannigan and McHugh. It's actually pretty funny. But I digress. Anyway, the song we opened up with, Ponythroat nailed it right on the head. It is Mustafa by Queen, part of the vaguely racist gibberish arc. I mean, I don't know if it counts as racist gibberish if it is in fact from your own culture. Also, fun fact, when they released the song, I believe it was the first song on Night at the Opera, the music critics in Old Blighty, they weren't particularly fond of it. They said pretty much the same thing Ponythroat said, but in seriousness rather than mockery. They said, this is Orientalist. They said this is Orientalist. This is a, facile, surface level depiction of Middle Eastern culture that anybody could have gotten just by going to the kebab shop at 1 a.m. Of course, Freddie Mercury is literally of Persian ethnicity and was a practicing Zoroastrian, but, he doesn't know anything about his own culture, I say sarcastically. As usual, the chattering classes know dick about dick. But yes, the song is relevant to certain things that happened at Coachella, which we'll talk about later on. It's vaguely racist gibberish related shenanigans are pretty much the only reason I would ever give two damns about what goes on at Coachella. I mean, as a child, I was only aware that Coachella existed because there was a valley in which Bugs Bunny wanted to go to the big carrot festival therein. He got sidetracked on his way there, ended up having to fight that bull in Spain. That's a whole different issue. Ponythroat says he just doesn't think Mustafa is very good musically. And it sounds kind of stupid if you know Mustafa and Ibrahim are names. I mean, is it their best work? No, it's not. I mean, the Night at the Opera album is kind of all over the place musically. I should probably make sure just to find out that that song was, in fact, on Night at the Opera. Just, I'm going to briefly look that up. 1 second. Sorry for the delay. I had brief dog nanigans that had to be discussed. Nothing major. She just misplaced one of her little dog toys, and she was whining about it. So yeah, anyway, Mustafa, the song, is it in fact on Night at the Opera? Queen's entire discography. I'm an idiot. It's from Jazz, not Night at the Opera. Night at the Opera was the de facto Highlander soundtrack that had all like the Highlander songs. It had Princes of the Universe, Who Wants to Live Forever, Give Me the Prize, 1 Year of Love, One Vision, It's a Kind of Magic. And here I go again. A Kind of Magic is the Highlander soundtrack. Was Night at the Opera the one that had You're My Best Friend That I Ever Had? Yes, I do actually have all of Queen's albums on an external hard drive. I was just grabbing things, and I didn't take time to go over their entire discography. And of course, when I say I have Queen's entire discography, I mean I have the ones that don't have Adam Lambert on them. Because fuck him, that's why. Anyway. Let's see, Biff Sankovic says, hello, sir. Point Thought says, is this stream going to bring up Johnny Somali getting arrested in South Korea? Oh, yes, it will. But we'll get to that later. Anyway, I guess we should just get to the news. Have serious to talk about instead of music. Music is always serious, but it's not the most serious thing. Okay, so let's talk about what's going on in these United States. First off, is religious news afoot. The Catholic Church in 2026 in the United States has welcomed the largest number of converts in recent years. I guess The Simpsons was right with that Super Bowl commercial where the women are like and grinding and they show their crucifixes. The Catholic Church, we've made some changes. No, but in all seriousness, why are the Papists winning? Yes, the Papists are winning in America. Bill the Butcher, brave. As if anyone knows where William Poole is actually buried. I know he's somewhere near the Brooklyn Bridge. His gravestone has long something Fireboy Mose. Point Thought says, also reminds me too much of the lava planet from Star Wars. That was Mustafa, or the Austin Powers henchman. Yes, Dr. Evil's assassin Mustafa, played by the extremely Caucasian Will Ferrell. You could get away with that in the 90s. But yes, anyway, Papists. Of course, we've had the first American Pope. Recently, that was, of course, Pope Leo. But the Catholic Church is growing in the United States. A lot of talk of Christian nationalists. Well, some of them are Catholics. They say America was always a Protestant nation. It's not, sir. Absolutely not. And before anyone asks, yes, I know that there was one signatory of the Declaration of Independence who was an Irish Catholic. You don't need to get on me on that. Thank you. Also, the Eastern Orthodox Church is growing quite a bit in the United States, and some people are asking why. Why has this occurred? I can think of a couple of reasons why it's occurred. Namely, because American Protestantism is in a bit of a crossroads here. Basically, I would say the majority of American mainline Protestants have fallen to what I call the Quaker problem, and that they just become American. I mean, you can go to all sorts of Protestant churches and you can see, the LGBT fuck spiral flag flying outside the church. In this house we believe in humana 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 signs on the lawn. And it's the same thing that happened to the Quakers. Just too nice and too polite and too simple. They just kind of fade into irrelevance. They just stopped breeding and stopped indoctrinating. Or I say, they need just a little hint of that edge to kind of stay relevant. Which is, of course, the problem that the other half of American mainline Protestantism has. Namely, the, hardcore evangelicals have the exact opposite problem. They're just staggeringly unintellectual and overly political. When I say, the hardline evangelicals, I mean the, the turning U.S. people, the people who, shriek in hysterics about how the Catholics are, idolaters, but then they basically worship Reagan more than they worship the actual, Christian God. Yeah, that's the other problem with American Christianity. And so we can throw the Mormons in there too. So, I would say the majority of American Protestants are basically, they have a quick problem. They're just too nice. And indistinguishable from just, basic bitch liberals, and they're fading into irrelevance. So, yeah, I would say, the majority of them are basically like that. Let's say 70%. And then the other 30% are the, rabid, evangelical fundamentalist prots who want to, really drive humanity back to a new dark age. So any person of faith who has half a brain is like, I don't want to choose between either of these people. And so, I'm getting roundabout here. If I had to guess, I mean, I'm not a religious man. If I had to guess why Catholics and the Russian Orthodox are growing, because they're religious people who want to have faith, but at the same time they're not Grug brain troglodytes. Audio is runs out of. Give me a second. I'll try to fix this. Just give me 1 second here. Okay, perhaps this will be better. Is this better? I don't know. Let's see. Better? Let us find out. All right, let's hope. As the yes, anyway, John Wayne says in the UK, lots of Anglicans are converting to Catholicism. And of course, the Anglican Church is basically baby's first Catholicism, as Robin Williams will put it. But that's neither here nor there. Wait, might be kind of kicking my ball, abs open. That'll. Key thing. I have a computer decade old. Mustafa says it's still kind of busted. It might be my internet. My it works. But I can. So, ask what percentage of evangelicals, the religious, on the news. The Papism. Of course, trends also show growing atheism and agnosticism. It's Protestantism as America's dominant Christian. We'll see. Then, of course, talking to people who are more in depth in this issue, and I quote, there is a massive disconnect between internet, or shall we say, guys who are not going to be having families. The trad cat just medievalism. And then there's the liberation theology, who basically view Catholicism as a skin suit for essentially between what we lose. Let's see if I can smooth this out. It'd be great if I could open up another. Just close. I'm still. Maybe move on. See. Taco Bell goes to say, I think your mic is dying on you, buddy. All right, I'm going to try one more thing. I'm just going to give up the ghost here. What's up? How's that at all? Okay, let's see if this will do it. Shinseki Evan says need a better ISP or something. Perhaps I do. Parthor says the video May reel is also stuttering. Maybe it's my stream setup and internet, not his mic. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. All right, well, I'll give it until 12:30, and if it doesn't fix itself, then I guess we'll just hang it up. It's a shame because I had some good stuff to talk about. Technology is fickle as always. What can I say? Okay. Okay, sounds okay now, John Wayne fan says. Okay, good. Yeah, I just had to move around a bit. Find the spot in my house that wasn't a complete internet dead zone. Okay. Hopefully this should work okay. So, yeah, anyway, let's leave America behind for now. And let's go to another country. The country that was once almost challenging America for hegemon of the Western Hemisphere. Argentina. Argentina's having a bit of a mixed bag. On the one hand, the government of groovy chainsaw man Javier Milei is going out of its way to tear down murals and billboards of Che Guevara. Of course, Che Guevara being an Argentine himself, even though he bumblefucked his way across Cuba and Bolivia. That's a whole different story. Yes. Okay, they say it's working now. Okay. Yeah, I had to just move around to a different part of my home to find a place where it might be. Okay, see, usually I sit at the desk in the living room. Unfortunately, my wife has suffered a bit of an injury, so we have an air mattress laying out so she can kind of lay on it, because sitting too long, like a regular chair kind of hurts her back. So I apologize for that. So I had to move to the kitchen. Yeah, so Viva la Libertad, carajo, John Wayne fan says. Yes. On the one hand, that's good. I mean, I'm certainly not a fan of El Carnicero. But on the other hand, Argentinians are now having to resort to eating donkey meat. Donkey meat, which for some reason I was under the impression that donkey meat is called poopy, but apparently it's not. I think that was like a thing on crack.com many years ago. And yeah, by the way, I'll edit this down so that all the glitchy horseshit doesn't impede your listening. But yes, Argentina, they're eating donkey meat. I mean, to be fair, this is hardly unique to Argentina. I mean, Venezuela was under hardline communism, and they also were reduced to eating zoo animals and livestock. John Wayne fan says to my wife, get well soon. Thank you, sir. Yeah, she's on the road to recovery. And, yes, the Twitter thread is just full of, like, people arguing in Spanish. Which to me always seemed a bit funny because, I mean, yeah, like, I've always said that people, like, when they say they hate America, they usually hate in some kind of, like, abstract, kind of far away way. It's like, yeah, America's this place far away and we don't like them, but there's usually somebody much closer by that they hate with much more intensity. Like, I'm sure your average Latin American hates the gringos in a, vague, abstract sort of way. But I'm sure there's somebody, in the next neighborhood over who they would literally murder right now if they were given the chance. And not just in Latin America, but in many countries all around the world. Ponythroat says, donkeys are second-class equines anyway. It's all they're good for. Well, yes, of course, you are a, proud horseman. I mean, donkeys are just pack mules, sir. But yes, the good people of Argentina are having to eat donkey meat. Now, I hope it works out for them. But yeah, Latin American politics, never really pleasant on the best of days, and it's even worse now. Yeah, let's see what else we got going on here. The first thing I have in my notes is the title story, but I don't want to do that right now. Let's see. Oh, yes. Speaking of Latin America, let's leave Argentina behind and go to a much more well-run Latin American state, that of El Salvador. What is going on in El Salvador? What is El Presidente Bukele doing? He's banning haircuts. Not to the extent that, North Korea bans haircuts. But they're banning the Edgar haircut. What is the Edgar haircut? It's a smelly haircut, as the OSW boys would say. It is the, how do I describe it? It's like that mullet bowl that, like, people wear nowadays. It's like that. It's a bowl cut, but there's, like, straight bangs that go over the forehead, and sometimes there's, like, a little mullet in the back. Yeah, Bukele says, yeah, we're not doing that here. Bukele basically straight up says, get that smelly haircut out of my country. I'm kind of torn on this issue. On the one hand, yeah, I mean, people should have free expression. On the other hand, it's a terrible, terrible haircut. Okay, we got some comments here. John Wayne says, when did Argentina compete with the States for hegemony? Well, they didn't, actually, but I'm saying that they could have. In the late 19th and early 20th century, Argentina was arguably even wealthier than the United States. Like, there was a time when Argentina was legitimately one of the wealthiest countries in the world. I'm saying that they could have become like the hegemony of the Western Hemisphere, unlike the United States. But due to a series of various things, they kind of lost that by the 40s and 50s. And if there's any communists in my chat, yes, I'm aware the United States sponsored a coup in 1978. Their downward decline started happening long before that. Blame Perón. Not everything is, Daddy Yankee's fault. But yeah, it's actually funny you mention that because my wife and our mutual, family friend, they started getting into Agatha Christie, mysteries, murder mysteries, as of late. And, I'm not as big of a fan as they are, but, I've kind of pay attention to, like audiobooks and things. And, yeah, you'll notice that, like, they'll just casually mention, some, wealthy Venezuelan or Argentinian is just kind of going on vacation in the Riviera. And that's, like, just a thing that was happening at the time. And when it comes to a book that I am familiar with, in one of Louis Ferdinand Celine's books, he specifically mentions how he gets cucked by a couple of like Argentinian cattle ranchers. I think it was a Journey to the End of the Night. Yeah, he describes how these two Argentinian, vaqueros basically cuck him. They take his girlfriend and they just like spit roast her, basically. Celine, of course, being one of the pioneers of what I and several other critics call loser literature, which is literature written about losers and their miserable lives. He was sort of the predecessor to, Bukowski and Vonnegut and, guys like that. I will give the French credit for they kind of pioneered that whole style of writing. I mean, hell, in France, they still have a saying, like, as rich as an Argentine, because Argentinians were extremely wealthy back in the day. And, of course, as far as I'm aware, Argentina is, in both positive and negative ways, seen as sort of like the France of Latin America, and that they're seen as like really snotty, and they think they're better than the other Hispanic countries, probably because of that. Hey, the John Wayne fan. Let's how about Brazil or Mexico? Well, I mean, in the 40s, Mexico was doing pretty good economically. Then that kind of got ran to the ground. Also, ditto Brazil. I'm not going to profess to be an expert in this field, but I, again, pay attention to the news. John Wayne fan says he's read the early Poirot volumes. Yes, that's what my wife's reading right now, actually. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When it comes to detective fiction, I vastly prefer the... not vastly, I mean, I do enjoy, like, the British great detectives, but, yeah, I mean, give me a choice. I'm going to go with the American, hard-boiled detective. I like my detectives to be surly, schlumpy, drunken, and violent, damn you. But, of course, that's neither here nor there. Anyway, yeah, the Edgar Haircut. It's out of Argentina. But it says the 19-year-old TikTok rapper haircut. God, you remember when rappers were cool? When did they become totally lame? Like, I don't know. It's just like, yeah, there's the, speaking of libertarianism, there's a part of me which wants people to be able to grow their hair as much as they please. But, yeah, I'm just saying if I had a son who came home with that haircut, I would shave him bald. Not going to lie. So, tentatively, good on you, Bukele. Oh, yeah, speaking of Argentina, a post went viral on February 21st. It said, Latin America means beans and adultery, but here in Argentina, it's beef and family. They're showing all these big sides of beef and ribs and stuff. And, yeah, I guess they ate all their cows and they're eating donkeys now. Yeah, so if you have the Edgar haircut, get rid of it. Alright, so coming back to the United States, PepsiCo has been losing money as of late. Sorry, just kind of mixed up here. Yes, PepsiCo has lost a bit of money. They've lost over $1 billion due to Dorito issues. Also, yes, PepsiCo makes Doritos, apparently. They've been trying to make Doritos $6 or $7 a bag. And people have responded by not buying Doritos. Also, apparently there's pizza salami flavored Doritos. Ugh. What is going on with the Pepsi Corporation? Can we use dark necromancy to revive Joan Crawford to smack PepsiCo around with a coat hanger for a bit? Wasn't her fifth husband who was the CEO of Pepsi, and which is why she shoehorned Pepsi products into all of her late period movies? Because, you know, the movie Trog would have suffered so much that there wasn't just Pepsi machines shoehorned in there. Anyway, the point is, Doritos are reducing the... I should say Pepsi. Doritos is not a company. Pepis is reducing the price of chips to try and make some money back. So, yeah, no one's buying Doritos. Ponythroat says they deserve it for discontinuing Crystal Pepsi. I mean, I always preferred Coke, to be honest, so... I can't really judge. But yes, you know, furiously angry zombie Joan Crawford. That would not be her first time at the rodeo. She went into the board of directors and started, you know, settling some accounts there. I mean, it'd hardly be the worst thing the Pepsi Corporation's ever done. Am I right? Am I right, people? Yeah, so some people have noticed that this seems to coincide almost entirely with massive reductions in the welfare state in the United States. Namely, the EBT program, food stamps, and other social entitlements have stopped allowing the purchase of junk food on the you know, on the little Wix card or whatever the hell it is. And no one's starving, but PepsiCo has lost a lot of money, and 7-Eleven has also closed down more than 600 stores. You don't mean to say that there's some kind of unholy amalgamation between the welfare state and shitty junk food? Heaven forbid that happen. I say sarcastically because, of course, there's like a one-to-one correlation between the two. The American Tribune Substack wrote a very interesting article titled America's Danegeld Empire, where to a very large extent, much of America's you know, civil society revolves around paying, you know, the feral lumpen proles to, you know, not riot and destroy things. It's giving them endless corn syrup, basically, and hoping that'll placate them. That more or less worked for many years, and it's not happening now, so let's see what happens. And of course, bear in mind that when PepsiCo loses $1 billion, that means they still made $8 billion in profit, as opposed to $10 billion. They were actually expecting $1.7 billion in profit, more actually. All right. So yes, also, the 7-Eleven Corporation has closed down many locations in these United States. Ponythroat says, both Coke and Pepsi are watered down 90% corn syrup slop nowadays. They're on a downward spiral. Soft drinks peaked with new Coke. Dave Slankovich asks, what's up with the breaking up? I don't know, sir. And I'm getting mixed things with the thing. Wait a minute. I mean, I am talking to my mic, so seems to be working okay. Yes, John Wayne fan says you must be watching. Delayed, the breaking up has stopped. Yeah, so I think from now on I'm going to start doing this in the kitchen because that seems to have better reception. Yeah, so we went through a period of delays, Mr. Slankovich, but it seems to be working okay now. Let's see, what else do we have going on here? Oh boy, let's talk about the schools. It's always just a wonderful situation because the schools are doing so great in this country, are they not? I say with the utmost sarcasm. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about some positive news from schools and then the negatives. Okay, there was an attempted school shooting in Arkansas, but it was stopped. Who stopped him? Not the security guards, because school security guards don't do a damn thing, but the principal. Okay, so there's some footage. The shooter walks in. The principal, Kirk Moore, tackles him and takes him down and saves the lives of the students. You know, good on you, Principal Moore. And I'm just going to say it up. Kirk Moore is a fat, old, bald man, and he just beasted this guy. I mean, he just, like, ran out of the room. He slammed the door open. He ran. He tackled him. He punched him out. You know, good on him. That was April 7th. You know, I always say never sleep on fat men because some of them can fight pretty good. It all depends on whether there's, you know, muscle underneath the fat, and I think there clearly was in this case. So says Janice at Librarian Poster. Being a 20-year-old dude who resents his former high school is bad enough, but imagine you show up to shoot up the school and get beaten on by a fat, old, bald man. Also, the shooter was 20 years old, so I don't know why like you would wait 2.5 years to shoot up your school. Like, if you're gonna do it, why don't do it when you're in the school? I mean, I know they say vengeance is best served cold, but it's a little too cold, don't you think? I mean, at that point, like, the vengeance soup has gotten a sheet of mold on it. Yeah, if I had to guess, I would say this Principal Moore probably wrestled or played some football because he did, like, a pretty nice double leg. You know, got low, kind of had a low center of gravity. And, yeah, I'm just going to say it. Why can 60-year-old elderly men stop shooters better than the police? Like, is no one going to address this? Like, should we just start staffing police departments with, like, elderly fat men? Because they're apparently tougher and more badass than, you know, the police. And yes, I'm talking to you, Uvalde, Texas. Yeah, this, I know this is not really related per se, but yeah, the police in this country need a massive restructuring. Like, you know, I think I know what you could do, actually. You could just require, you know, mandatory boxing or mixed martial arts classes in the police. I think that would weed out the pussies pretty quick because they wouldn't have the balls to take a punch to the gut or the face. That would weed out, you know, the petty tyrants and weenies. And then those who would, you know, be left would be those who might have a pair of stones in between their legs. Okay, Okay, John Wayne asked, was another trans fella, LOL. I don't know, he looked like he was just wearing like a sweatshirt, like a hooded sweatshirt, so I don't think so. I mean, despite all the recent rashes of transgender school shooters, both in this country and other countries, I'm looking at you, Canada. There was one a few weeks ago. But yeah, apparently this is, the old archetype of just the resentful, nerd. That's still a thing. Ponythroat says he's probably setting up his good boy points to buy a gun. Yes. Ponythroat says, to be fair, Uvalde police officers make Steve Urkel look like Officer Tackleberry, and Officer Tackleberry looks like John McClane. Yes. And it makes Officer John McClane look like Officer John McClane from the Die Hard video game. Dynamite Deca. Like, John McClane in the movie Die Hard was pretty badass, but in the video game, he's, like, punching out, like, robots and stuff. So, as usual, Japan takes a good American idea and makes it completely insane, gloriously so. So, yeah, there was some good news in the schools, but then, oh, wait, actually, there's some more good news from the schools. I mean, it has bad implications, but it has, in the short term, it's good. So, from Reddit teachers, a teacher had something amazing happen. One shitheel student got expelled, and the entire class got better. I'll just read it to you directly. I kicked the girl out of my class because she was fighting another student. She was a constant headache. She really paid attention, and she just never shut up. It was a constant battle of telling her to shut up. She was the worst of all my 6 classes. This whole group was pretty meh. She's been gone for 2 weeks, and my worst class has suddenly become my best class. We're laid back. We have discussions. The focus is better. My test grades have gone through the roof. It's crazy. And then I got sad. One student made 25 other students have a worse experience. What a messed up system we are in. So your ears will not deceive you. Principal Skinner was correct. There is an unmistakable cone of ignorance surrounding one bad apple. This is also the theory of no shit that any teacher could have told you. Like, in particular, I have, my last period class is basically 3 or 4 students who just act up constantly and disrupt the class, and everyone else would be perfectly fine if they didn't do that. But, I've repeatedly had them have detentions and Saturday detentions, and they just, it doesn't stop. Then, of course, we teachers get blamed for it. But yeah, the fact that the people who run the Department of Education don't understand this is boggling. Why is this? Could it be that Congress is full of private school and homeschool kids? Probably something like that. Ponythroat says Die Hard Arcade. I played that at like 10 FPS on a Pentium 4. Oh, it's pretty good if you play the actual arcade version. Which I played, many and many a year ago in the Kingdom by the Sea. And, of course, by the Kingdom by the Sea, I mean Atlantic City. Yeah, you see, private schools in the United States have this unimaginable luxury where you can just kick out the stupid and disruptive children, and the test scores go up. Imagine. And I'm reading this thread, and apparently Germany is trying to abolish its system, which is very good. Okay, basically, Germany has a trilateral high school system where basically you take aptitude tests and you get put into schools that are based on your learning levels. They're trying to abolish this for the same bullshit reasons that we've demolished tracking in America, because it makes people feel bad. Because of course they are. As usual, Europe adopts all the stupid ass, like, American left-wing nonsense. Okay, let's see what else we got going on here. Let's see what else we got going on. Yeah, speaking of disruptive assholes, yeah, let's talk about the Johnny Somali thing. Jonathan Somalian. I don't know if that's actually what his name is. I'm choosing to believe so. He has, in fact, gotten arrested in South Korea. If you'll recall, Johnny Somali went to South Korea and acted like a jackass to the point where multiple, like, professional MMA fighters and special forces soldiers were literally hunting him down and beating him up in the street. Anyway, yeah, he has been found guilty of all charges in South Korea, and he has been sentenced to hard labor in prison. I mean, I know he's an American citizen, but I'm going to take my... If I were the president, I would take my sweet time getting him out. And by sweet time, I mean no time at all. Because fuck Johnny Somali, that's what I say. He is a garbage person. And, he deserves it. Okay. Yeah, they recommended 3 years in prison with labor. Let's see. Yeah, it's a special labor prison. Okay, so he's getting 6 months, which yeah, I think might do him some good. He basically says, I have family back home, and I have a chance to change my life as a young person. Again, typical. He was a good boy. He didn't do anything nonsense. Yeah, he can appeal the ruling. He's probably not going to. Yeah, the prosecution is recommending 3 years. He got 6 months. So, let's review. Johnny Somali acted like a jackass, bumping and grinding with the statue memorializing the comfort women of World War II. Then he caused disturbances in a 7-Eleven, disrupted a bus, blasted North Korean propaganda, and so on and so forth. He also did deep fakes of slandering. Yeah, I think this prick deserves everything he gets. Okay. Ponythroat says 13% of students cost 50% of the brat braps. I would also say it's even more like, it's probably even more like 5% of the students would solve the problem. Ponythroat says, I was homeschooled not because my parents thought the school system lacked, because they looked at the cost of sending 6 kids to school, weighed in terms of packs of cigarettes, and they reconsidered. John Wade fan says, in UK schools I experienced it, 1 or 2 retards ruin everything. Yes, they sure do. And, of course, they blame you for it. My fucking supervisor's like, Lars, Mr. Howe, like, why are there so many students failing your classes? I mean, first of all, it's like 5 out of 25. Secondly, did you ever consider, sir, that they're not doing the work? Maybe that's why they're failing. But, we couldn't possibly consider that. We can't offend the precious brappies. Okay, so let's talk some business news. The Wagies have been taking L's for quite a while, and they're starting to fight back. Multiple Amazon warehouses have burned. Also, a North Rock Grumman building has burned. In 1 week, there have been 7 warehouses set on fire. Why? The Amazon employees are not happy. A 46-year-old man died working in the Amazon procurement center. I mean, it's understandable. It is grueling work. And if I were less physically fit, perhaps I'm going to drop dead. I mean, okay, probably not, but I can see why. Anyway, the man dropped dead, and workers were told, just keep working. Ignore the literal corpse working next to you, and just keep moving along. So for those of you not aware, basically when you're in the Amazon warehouse, at least where I was, they give you like a little cubby, basically. It's literally the Wagie cagey. It's like a little 8x10 cubby your wage cage that you stand in, and there's a little conveyor belt that kind of runs through. You take the things off, package them, and you put it down the little chute. And you do that. Then they calculate your rate of work. Of course, making sure to massively lower your rate if you ever have the audacity to leave and go to the bathroom. Yeah, so they probably weren't touching the dead body. They probably just noticed that Billy Bob in the cubicle next to them was not moving, and they were just told to keep on working. So yes, perhaps this is why people are burning shit down. They're wrapping it up for a good cause. Yes, it took them an hour before they did anything about this dead body that was slowly rotting next to them. Now, I did predict this. I'm not going to lie, I predicted this. I said, America's probably not going to have an out-and-out civil war. But I feel like we're going to enter essentially a time like the Troubles in Northern Ireland. You're going to see, things being lit on fire. You're going to see riots. You're going to see, a couple of assassinations, maybe a car bomb or two. It's going to be the years of lead and salt here, but probably not an out-and-out civil war. Okay, Ponythroat says, it sucks, but it's not significantly worse than other warehouse jobs in my experience, so it's not in difficulty terms. I mean, it's the only warehouse I've ever worked in, so I can only judge it based on, that in and of itself. I mean, it's kind of a lateral movement compared to the construction job I worked where a fat tub of shit yelled at me from the shade for 10 hours a day while I was busting my ass in the hot sun. But yeah, just in general, the wages are taken in the ass, not just in this country, but in other countries. Okay, so a young American lady went viral. They're having nervous breakdowns because they can't pay the bills. This woman is in her car crying and having a shit fit. Brazilians are saying you Americans have it better than us. At least you've got a car. We don't even have buses with air conditioning. And then, not to be outdone, Spaniards are also saying, well, at least you have a job. We have like 30% unemployment here. And then there's a Turkish guy commenting on our situation not being good too. So, yeah, I guess wherever you go, there's no more middle class. It's just, rich people and the wagey peasants who serve them. I guess that's it nowadays. Okay, the John Wayne fan says, a retired army colonel predicted civil war in the UK in the next decade. I mean, that might be the case in the UK, but, I don't think it's going to happen in America anytime soon. Because, as much as it sucks in America, I think we still do have it better than most countries on Earth. People are getting frustrated in things. But yeah, I just don't think we have, enough dissatisfaction on a large scale to, have a full-scale civil war. But, mark my words, it's going to be, a jumbo-sized version of the Northern Ireland Troubles in the United States over the next, 10, 20 years. Okay, Ponythroat says, I worked in Amazon briefly in another warehouse job. The Amazon didn't have the same level of wage theft. I mean, not gonna lie, I stole a couple of things from the Amazon warehouse. And yeah, I didn't get fired. I quit. Right. Okay, we're going to move on a bit to the silly side of things and the pop culture side of things. First of all, let's return back to New York one last time. Okay, if you'll give me a second here, indulge me. Okay, so in New York, there is an autistic man who has been arrested 32 times for impersonating New York City transit workers. He peacefully hijacks buses and trains through impersonation, and he perfectly drives the routes, on time and under budget. On multiple occasions, MTA employees would give him their shifts because they knew him well And the passengers liked him too. And yet they keep arresting him. Why? I don't know. I mean, he clearly is capable of doing the job. Like, why don't they just hire him as a bus driver? I mean, it's clearly something he loves. You know, it's a very stereotypical thing. An autistic man who likes trains and buses, but he's doing his job. Let him do it. He's been in and out of jail since 2018, and I don't understand why. John Wayne fan asked worse than BLM regarding the United States. Yeah, I think so, because now I think it's going to be more of a class thing rather than a racial thing. So, you know, it's going to be, like I said, you're going to see, you know, more assassinations. You're going to see more Luigi Mangionis. You're going to see more warehouses being lit on fire. It's going to be like the Troubles, mark my words. Ponythroat says he sounds like a really crappy late series TMNT villain. Can he even be considered a villain? I mean, he seems to be doing the job really well. I don't see why they don't just give him a job. Just pay him $50,000 a year to drive a bus. He'd be happy to do it, and he'd do his job right. In fact, why don't you put him as the head of the MTA? I mean, some of the subway stations in New York City are just absolute disgusting shitholes. I mean, he would clean it. I guarantee this guy would clean up the place. I don't know, I just don't get it. Like, I don't get why you wouldn't hire a guy who's clearly born and put on this earth to do this job. I don't know. It's like if some, like, you know, TISM guy was like really into, I don't know, history. Would you not hire him to work at the museum? The John Wayne fan says, in New York City there is an autistic man. That's a nice way of describing Zoran Mamdani. No, it's Darius McCullum. But yeah, like he clearly loves the job. He'd probably do it for free. Like, I don't see why he couldn't just pay him, like, you know, your basic, you know, $60,000 a year salary and have him, like, go to town. I mean, hell, I bet he would probably, like, clean up that, you know, that, like, abandoned subway station that the Ninja Turtles lived in. And he'd do it for free. I forget what the name of it was. I mean, I've seen it. Like, if you take the 6 train all the way down to Coney Island, you'll see it kind of out the windows. The old, like, really nice train station from the early 1900s. I don't remember what station it was. It's long since abandoned. It's been a while since I've ridden the 6 train. Ponythroat says, given the state of public transit, hiring people capable of the job is the last thing they would want to do. Well, yes, clearly. And finally, the last thing before we get to the pop culture side of things. Okay, looking at news of the retard right, Curtis Yarvin mentions Moldbug is Wuzzing ancient China, claiming that the Yellow Emperor, the inventor of Chinese civilization, was the blonde Emperor Flavius. No, he was not, sir. I assure you that there was no... No. Are white people doing the Wuzzing now? I guess so. Why did anybody ever listen to Moldbug? I don't know, I guess the right-wingers are finally giving up on the idea of Chinese civilization being like a anti-Faustian bug hive. Now they're trying to Wuzz it, I suppose. Ponythroat says, TMNT did have a public transit themed villain named Gridlock, existed in a live-action special that exists to show bus passes. Oh, yeah, it was like the Blue Line special. which is literally the worst Ninja Turtle costumes you will ever see in your life. Even worse than the, coming out of their shells musical tour. They were literally just like styrofoam heads that their mouths didn't even move. They were just in like this one grimace. I mean, it's on YouTube if you want to see that special. It's basically one step above like one of those like little plastic smock costumes that 5-year-olds wear for Halloween. I say as if I didn't wear a plastic smock costume when I was a child. I was Sonic the Hedgehog, not Ninja Turtles. Yeah, Millhouse, I don't think Radioactive Man wears a plastic smock with his face on it. On Halloween, he does. Okay, yes, let's get to the pop culture side of things. Okay, let's see what's going on with Disney's never-ending downward spiral. Some whippersnapper is writing an unauthorized biography of Bob Iger, who up until very recently was the CEO of Disney, and they're trying desperately to suppress it, because they fear that it will severely tarnish his legacy. Bear in mind that Bob Iger is the guy who, bought out Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all these things and just ran them all into the ground. He's the guy who's been spending the last 10 years just shitting out garbage after garbage after garbage. So, frankly, I don't think the man's suffering enough. I think he should have his legacy tarnished. Disney, of course, being one of many corporations that gets ruined when people who have any tangential relation to the original founder are gone, and just becomes an endless parade of just mediocre suits. See also the McDonald's guy who failed to eat the Big Arch Burger, which was pretty big a few weeks ago. Okay, let's see what we got going on in pop culture. Ponythroat says the same thing. Maybe his legacy should be tarnished. Expecting Bob Iger to have a good legacy is like giving somebody 75 cents and expecting $1 and change. Okay, speaking of cartoon-related things, Netflix optioned a Redwall animated series. Then they canceled it. That's a shame. Because, I'm not a furry, so I'm not like the biggest fan of Redwall, but I read a couple of those books when I was a kid. I liked them. Maybe I just enjoy seeing stories about little cute, animals like brutally stabbing and beating each other to death. Which does happen, by the way, for those of you who aren't aware. Yes, it's like Lord of the Rings starring rodents. But yeah, it would have been a pretty cool little, kiddie show, but apparently it's not happening. From what I'm looking at, the concept art they're showing looks pretty cool. And, I think the children need to see, like, badgers, like, slamming weasels' heads into walls and beating them to death with blunt force trauma. But alas, it's not to be. Someone says jokingly, the food rendering technology just isn't there yet. Yes, Redwall, of course, very famous for succulent food descriptions. But yeah, the big streaming companies, they just keep blowing fantasy series. Netflix fails with Redwall. Amazon, of course, optioned the Conan the Barbarian series, which they didn't even get, like, off the starting block. That was just due to politics. Those of you not aware, the Conan series literally got canceled on Amazon because the, castrating HR broad running the show didn't like Conan. He's too much toxic masculinity. And she clashed with the literal Robert Howard scholars they brought on to discuss, lore accuracies. Then eventually they just gave up. Ponythread says at least some good came out of Bob Iger's legacy. He inspired newfound admiration for George Lucas. Yes, Razor Fist was right. You will beg for Lucas by the time the Disney Star Wars is over. Oh, yeah. And finally, we're going to get to the title story. Incoherent Shrieking is part of my culture. We have to discuss the Zagruta. What is the Zagruta? It is incoherent, shrieking Middle Eastern noises. Oh, I'm sure you all know what it is already. Like, literally, go out, just leave your house right now, find the most racist man you can find, and ask him to do an impression of Arab music. I guarantee you he will give you a perfect, pitch perfect depiction of the Zagruta. It's the turkey gobbling, shrieking that we're all familiar with. They used to be very common target of jokes throughout the 90s. Like The Simpsons did it, In Living Color did it, and so on and so forth. Ponythroat says, I actually watched the Conan movie a few days ago. Not that movie has much to do with the source material. I know he takes a lot of liberties with the source material, but I feel like he nailed the spirit of it. I know some people are like, no, this is Conantics. This is not the real thing. But the Jason Momoa Conan movie was technically closer to the lore, and it was an inferior movie in every possible way, so maybe lore accuracy isn't the most important thing. Anyway, the Zagruta and Coachella. Let us discuss this. So, for those of you not aware, Coachella was at one point an alternative music festival because the big music festivals have become too corporatized and too commercialized. Coachella has long since become too commercialized and corporatized. But, yeah. We're at Coachella. What can make me give a shit about this? Casual racism, that's what happened. Okay, so... also, this vaguely ties back into what I talked about a couple weeks ago, the last stream I had. Okay, so, remember how a few weeks ago I talked about how the Incelosphere was having their usual freak out about some lady doing lady stuff? In that particular case, the song Man-Child by Sabrina Carpenter. Yeah, well, for some strange reason, the singer in question is back on in the news. And for some strange reason, I'm forced to care about this. Anyway, the singer was sitting down doing her set at Coachella, and she was about to play some piano singing a ballad, when all of a sudden from the crowd, some jackass just goes, ba la 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 la. And this obviously hijacked the show. The singer in question asked him, what the hell are you doing? No, she was a bit more polite than that. She was like, what is that? Is that yodeling? It's kind of like yodeling in the valley, if you know what I mean. I'm sorry, that was a bit vulgar. Anyway, she's like, oh, is that your culture? Yeah, cut that shit out. And, then this person, I believe, shut up, and then they allowed the singer, who they paid tickets for, to sing a song. The internet was not happy about this. They called the singer racist. How dare you? It's the Zagruta. It's not screaming. It's not yodeling. Me. Incidentally, the actual person laughed about it later on Instagram. So this is a non-issue that's becoming an issue. I was under the impression that if you're paying tickets to see a singer perform, you would, shut up and let them sing the song instead of, making incoherent shrieks in the middle of the set. Like, at the very least, just wait till the song's over and then, you know, start making annoying tongue noises. It's just some common damn courtesy. I expected better from the audience at Coachella, I say sarcastically. Anyway, yes, it seems like the sexless incels who were hating Ms. Carpenter just a few weeks ago have finally started to like her, because they may not like Miss Sandry, but boy, they like racism. And, like, disgusted, sneering, unintentional racism is A-okay in their books. I don't know, personally, I don't really see the appeal of Coachella. I don't really see much appeal in going to a desert with a bunch of mildly stoned people and listening to not particularly great music. Ponythird says, the singer is still less of a petulant little girl than Axl Rose. Well, yes. Yes, Sabrina Carpenter might literally be a petulant little girl, but Axl Rose is a petulant little girl in spirit. Axl Rose has a perfect fight record against his ex-wife and basically nobody else. With regards to the singer in question, I will say that of what very little I know of her, namely that one of my students wanted me to teach her one of her songs, I was able to get that sheet music for free, unlike my arch nemesis Taylor Swift, who always manages to get $5 out of me, even when I don't intend to. So that's a point in her favor, I suppose. Anyway, that about does it for my prepared remarks. If you're going to a concert, please don't make, like, annoying tongue shrieks. It's just common courtesy. So yeah, consider your last pieces now, should you desire. Okay, let's see if anyone has anything else to say. So for Larsen Halleck, this has been Larsen Halleck. All of you have a good day. So, I'm sorry, we got some comments all last minute. Okay. John Wayne fan says the Hungarian elections drawing totally retarded reactions from the Western left and right, both fully misunderstood. I'm not even going to pretend like I know anything about Viktor Orban or Hungary. Ponythor says the lead singer of the Smiths is still the biggest diva. Yes, he is indeed. Oh yeah, there was also like a little minor story, which, I mean, I don't really, there's not really not much to talk about. It's just like some old bag, like, assaulted two men who were fishing. I think it was in, like, South Carolina. These two guys just went fishing, and some old lady literally tried to, like, attack them and take bites out of them. Which just goes to show that boomers ruin everything. Alright, yes, so that's the last thing I have to say. So consider last pieces now, should you desire. Okay, so now I reiterate, for Larsen Halleck, this has been Larsen Halleck. All of you have a good day.